What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Moonlight. A big thanks to Rashad Reviews for being here in another video. This time I had him check out Moonlight, directed by Barry Jenkins. A huge thanks to him once again. You can find the link to his channel down below in the description box. We're going to be hearing from him in just a little bit, but let's go ahead and get into my thoughts on this movie. So Moonlight, like I just mentioned, is directed by Barry Jenkins and was released in 2016. I missed it in theaters when it first came out, and I actually saw it after it won the Oscar. Now, I'm sure everybody kind of remembers the big controversial moment at the end of the Oscars for that year. La La Land was announced as the winner. I remember being incredibly excited. If you guys have not seen my review for La La Land, I love that movie. I'm a huge fan of that movie. I saw it a few times in theaters in 2016 and was fully and utterly captivated by that film. And yeah, Moonlight ended up winning. It ended up being a mishap. They ended up calling the wrong name. There was this whole moment where everybody from La La Land was on stage and they were like, no, we didn't win. It was actually Moonlight. And so all the people from Moonlight came up to check it out. And so even after having seen Moonlight now a few times, I can say that I think that La La Land should have won. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about Moonlight, a film that I genuinely find to be a really well-made film, and that every time I've seen it, I appreciate it a little bit more and more. But it's a movie that ultimately, for me, I feel like I can't fully emotionally attach to, and I'm going to get into why in just one moment. Like I mentioned, it was directed by Barry Jenkins, and I think he does a great job on directing this film, just from a performance level, the color palette, the cinematography, and the way that this movie is kind of framed. It just makes for a very unique and very personal film. It is very much a character study on this character named Chiron, who is a young gay black guy growing up kind of in the hood, you know, not necessarily in a very accepting world when it comes to homosexuality, and he's kind of hiding this part of himself. And over the course of the film, in all three acts of the film, we were introduced to Chiron in different periods of his life. The first act of the film, he's a young boy. In the middle act, he's a teenager, and then he's a man in the last act of the film. And what I can really say without a doubt is I think the first and second act for me are the best parts of the movie. That's not to say that the third act is a bad part of the film or not good, but I just feel like the first two are the far more compelling parts of the film, and by the time the movie ended, I couldn't help but feel like there just wasn't that, I don't know, that element that really made me feel like there was a great sense of finality. Without a doubt, this movie is incredibly well acted, incredibly well shot, the color palette, all those things I just mentioned. Just on a visual technical level and just on a performance level, this film is incredibly well done. This film stars people like Trevante Rhodes, Mahershala Ali, Naomi Watts, Janelle Monáe, and many others, and I just really do enjoy the cast. Real quick, let's talk about Mahershala Ali, who I believe won an Oscar for this film, and I think without a doubt is one of the best parts of the film, if not arguably my favorite part of the film. And I think one of the biggest bummers about Mahershala Ali is that he is dangerously underutilized. He's only in the film for about half an hour, and even that is not necessarily probably his full screen time. Just about half an hour of a portion of the film is where his character's kind of involved. And they kind of just write him off. When they jump in time to the next part of Chiron's life, they just kind of say that Mahershala Ali's character was killed, and they kind of just move on. And I feel like, you know, it does add a sense of weight and drama to the story, but without a doubt I can't help but feel like it just kind of feels like it just kind of cut his character, and it feels a bit abrupt, and it kind of ruins the flow that I feel the first chunk of the movie really had. I do really enjoy the journey of Chiron's character. He's just very young, quiet boy who's dealing with his mom being a drug abuser. You know, he's been picked on, he's being called gay, he's got all these different things that people are kind of treating him wrong for, and he only has a couple people in his life that he feels he can kind of be safe around. And Mahershala Ali and Janelle Monáe's characters are two of those characters, and I really thoroughly enjoy the bond that he had with them. But by the time the movie's over, you do feel for Chiron throughout the course of the film, and you do really latch onto his story. But personally for me, I just feel like some of the choices in the movie, primarily the way that they kind of told the story, sometimes worked in its detriment, in my opinion. I think it's super unique to tell the story of Chiron over 3 points of his life, but because we're consistently changing actors and consistently jumping in time and kind of having to play catch up on what's happened in between the time skips, you're obviously not able to follow the same actor playing the same character throughout the course of the film. So by the time the movie ends, I just feel like you don't have that same emotional weight behind the events of the character. Now, this movie did win Film of the Year, so this is just my genuine opinion. You know, I did like the movie. I you know, don't get it wrong. I definitely wanted to do a review for it because I wanted to talk about it. I enjoy the subject matter and how it tackles it, and I also enjoy the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, this film was filmed in Miami, and I grew up in Miami, so there are areas that I recognize, and there are certain areas that just are familiar, even if I haven't really been there or don't know it. There's just a familiarity to the location because I grew up in Miami, and I've always been a big fan of seeing Miami on screen, even though, you know, living in Miami, it can be a little bit more glamorized for some people who have never been there before, but I enjoy the way that this film portrays it a little bit more like it is when you are in Miami. Now, before I wrap up my thoughts on this movie, let's go ahead and hear what Rashad had to say about this one.
Perez, what's the deal? Pickles, is everything kosher? So yeah, our tit for tat saga continues, and this was a surprising pick. Yeah, you got me watching Moonlight, which I've seen a few years ago when it first came out, and I haven't watched it since. Not because I didn't like it, just because it's just one of the movies where, to me, you just watch one time. But for the sake of this, I had to go ahead and watch it. I feel like I have to choose my words very carefully in this review because the subject matter in this movie is very sensitive, and I know the wrong thing could set some people off, and I'm not trying to do that by any way, shape, or form. But okay, I'm assuming you got into the whole plot and everything, so I'm just gonna give my 2 cents on the movie. This was a very well-made film. It had a real indie kind of feel to it. Not only indie, but just real artistic. You know what I'm saying? Like the shots and the color filters and all that. I feel like this is a very well-shot movie and a very well-acted movie. Personally speaking, the character of Sharon was not very interesting. Like, I like how it was a character study of him from being a child up into an adult and the whole journey. I thought that was cool. But just the character himself, I really wasn't into, because Sharon, he said nothing. He spent maybe 75% of the movie staring. And I guess I kind of get why. You know, you watch the movie, you understand, like, he's got a lot of shit going on in his life, you know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff that he's dealing with. But he spends most of the movie staring and brooding and just more staring, where it gets to the point where you're like, I'm surprised none of the other characters is like, dude, what the fuck are you looking at? Like, quit staring at me with those bug eyes. Jesus Christ. Let's go ahead and get out with it. Elephant in the room. This movie's about a kid who is battling with his own feelings of his sexuality, and in the black community in the hood, that's just taboo in real life shit. You know, growing up in the 80s and the 90s, homosexuality was really taboo in black culture, you know what I mean? I don't know why, it's just what it is, you know, especially with the men. Now, for women, it was more acceptable to come out like that, but for dudes, that just wasn't acceptable. So yeah, growing up, there were only like maybe 1 or 2 homosexuals in the neighborhood that I knew of. But don't get it twisted, one of them could fight. Now, one thing I can say about homosexuals, they can throw them hands. So don't be that person that goes up to a homosexual thinking that you're gonna punk him, and then you get your ass whooped and you look stupid. So the character of Sharon, well, he goes by 3 names. He goes by Little, then he goes by Sharon, and then Black. So as a kid, he's getting bullied, he's getting picked on because he's different, and he doesn't understand why he's different, and he's trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with me, what's going on. And he befriends Kevin, who also has tendencies, but Kevin seems to be like a normal boy. But then as they get older, they have an experience, which, to be honest with you, was a very hard scene to watch. I'm just be real, y'all. It's a hard scene to watch. I had to kind of fast forward through that shit. I'm like, I don't want to see this. But they have a love for each other, but because of what's accepted, they can't go there. They can't be out in the open with it, you know. And it was kind of a fucked up scene where Kevin had to beat him up in front of the school. And this is somebody that he obviously has feelings for, he had an experience with, and now I have to beat your ass in front of everybody. I could just imagine what that must have, you know, felt like, man. That had to have hurt, you know. And then, of course, they get older, they say, fuck it, let's just go for it, you know what I'm saying? And he finally is at peace with who he is and his feelings, and then it wraps up. So this is a love story. It is. It's a different kind of love story, but it's a love story. But also, I think what you can take away from this film is that, you know, be proud of who you are. You know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to be different just because what's accepted or what, you know, what people say you're supposed to be, that's what you be. No, you be who you are and be proud of who you are and be comfortable in your own skin and fuck what everybody else says. And the Mahershala Ali character instilled that in him as a kid. And I think he's the best part of the movie. Mahershala Ali, I believe he won an Oscar for this. He is the best part of the movie. I think he really shined. And he was only in it for 30 minutes, you know, and after that he was gone. Come to find out he had got killed. And I think her name is Janelle Monáe. Oh, man, she is so fine. I think she's bisexual, too. It's funny how all the finest women always got to be the other way. God, dog, man. I should probably edit that part out. Overall, I think this is a really good film. Like I said, to me, it's one of those that I'll probably just watch one time, but for the sake of this video, I watched it again. And I did appreciate it more because the first time, I ain't gonna lie, like it was, I guess I'm not used to that. You know what I'm saying? Like growing up, I'm not used to that. So I'm not frowning upon it. I'm not dissing it. Don't come after me. But that's just, I just don't feel comfortable watching that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I thought it was a good movie. Like what I took away from it, like I said, is just being comfortable in your own skin and being who you are and fuck what anybody else says about you. So good character study, good performances overall. I give it a B+. All right, this is a very solid film. Perez, the floor is yours. This was kind of this is a challenging review to get through because I didn't want to say the wrong shit and offend nobody. But yeah, man, that's what I got for Moonlight. So, Perez, what you got, homie?
A big thanks to Rashad Reviews for being here in this video. Again, my friend, always a pleasure to have you in this video and loved hearing your thoughts on it. Yeah, I can understand this movie maybe making you feel uncomfortable a bit. I think this is a movie that tackles subject matter that not everybody is 100% comfortable with, and it's not something that is in everybody's wheelhouse. I'm glad that you enjoyed the film for the most part, and yeah, I have to agree with you with what you said about Chiron, because though I feel for his character and I was along for his journey over the course of the film, I couldn't help but feel like when I was watching it, his character is so quiet and is this character that's dealt with so much trauma and, you know, does have this checkered past to the point where he's so silent for so much of the film. It really isn't until the third act of the film that I feel he speaks majority of the time that he's on screen, and even then he's kind of a distant and quiet character. I think that he is a good character, and I really do feel for his character over the course of the film, but like I mentioned, I feel like the first and second act, where he's arguably the most quiet in the film, is where I really kind of felt for him the most. I was most engaged in his narrative over those two portions of the film, and I just feel like the way that the story wraps up isn't necessarily all that compelling for me. I thought it was cool, I thought it was good, and I just find myself mostly latched on to the first two acts every time I watch this movie. Doesn't mean the last act is bad for me, I just feel like there's just something missing to the finale of this film that doesn't really leave me kind of compelled for the character and what's happening by the very end of the film. But again, this film did win Film of the Year, and I was in the camp of people who actually wanted La La Land to win that year. So, I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Are you a fan of Moonlight? Did you believe it should have won the Oscar? Should La La Land have won? Or is there another film from 2016 that you guys would have liked to have won the Oscar that year? Also, definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts on the film on an overall. Do you enjoy how it tackled the subject matter? And yeah, you know, comment your thoughts down below as usual. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more videos. As of filming this right now, it is currently 9:03 on Thursday night, the Thursday before WandaVision releases. Depending on when you watch this, I will be going to sleep right now to wake up at 3 a.m. and then I'll be watching WandaVision and getting those reviews up for you guys shortly. I believe they're dropping the first 2 episodes on first day, so look out for that review very, very soon. To all of you guys who are watching this after the fact, those videos are probably already up, so definitely go check it out if you guys have seen WandaVision. But to everybody else who's here for Moonlight, definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Overall, I think a really good movie. I definitely appreciate Rashad for being here in this video. You can find the links to his channel down below in the description box. A really good movie that has so many fantastic technical elements to the film, the color palette, the subtle use of score, the performances, the cinematography, the sound design. But by the end of the movie, I just can't help but feel like it's not as compelling in the third act as the first 2 acts. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say, though. If you disagree with me, that's totally okay. That's the fun of these videos, and I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say down below in the description box. So comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.